Yeah, man. So, have any of you guys seen the new Marvel movie? I'm speaking of the Fantastic Four. I think that's the most recent Marvel movie that came out was the Fantastic Four, and Pedro Pascal played Mr. Stretch, Mr. Incredible, Mr. Fantastic. Um, can't even remember his name. Fantastic Four used to be like my favorite movie. It used to be my favorite movie. Any of you guys who have ever watched Fantastic Four or even knew about it from the comics, you were excited when they finally made that Fantastic Four movie. You were excited. I was freaking excited. The graphics were great. They kind of stayed true to the characters, and it just seemed like they brought the comic book to life for us. And so, of course, I was like 10 toes down with that movie. Then they came out with The Silver Surfer, which was like part two, which was still a good movie. But here we are now, and this just came out last year in 2025. They remade they remade the Fantastic Four, like completely redid it, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I thought it was trash. Like I did not like the movie at all. Um, and I watched it twice just to make sure I didn't like it, which sounds weird, but I was judging the movie the first time around. I was judging it compared to the other Fantastic Four movies. And then as I'm watching it, I'm noticing things in the movie, um, certain things that I didn't agree with. And then I find out that there's like millions of people who kind of felt the same. They felt like there was an agenda being pushed through that movie, the woke agenda. Um, and that's the video I'm actually about to get into now because I want to hear what they're saying. They said Pedro kind of loses it because fans were slamming the Fantastic Four with their woke agenda. So come
Pedro
on.
Pascal just hijacked Marvel's Fantastic Four press tour, and instead of promoting the movie, he's turning it into a full-blown political therapy session. This isn't marketing anymore. This is Marvel's funeral, and Pedro brought the shovel. You know, there was a time when getting cast in a Marvel movie meant something. It was exciting. It was a dream gig, an actor's ticket to blockbuster stardom and fan adoration. But now, it's a one-way ticket to a cultural minefield where you're more likely to offend half the country before the trailer even drops. And nobody is proving that more than Pedro Pascal. Yes, Pedro, I have a hot take on everything. Pascal has officially taken Marvel's Fantastic Four reboot, a movie already drowning in backlash, and decided to turn the press tour into a political TED Talk. You'd think after The Last of Us debacle, where Season 2 managed to alienate its own fan base.
Never seen The Last of Us. Never seen The Last of Us. When The Last of Us game was created and it came out with the PlayStation and all that, I probably played the first 1, 2 missions of that game. Never played it again. I'm not into zombies like that, even though I did watch The Walking Dead for like the first 7 years. Not a big zombie fan. So
Before a single episode
don't know
aired,
anything about
maybe
The Last
Pedro
of Us.
would sit this one out. You'd think maybe he'd focus on the character, on the story, on convincing us why he, of all people, is the right choice to play Reed Richards, a.k.a. Mr. Fantastic. But no, instead, he's out here waxing poetic about politics, gender dynamics, DEI, and how America is apparently falling apart because people don't like his casting. That's his argument. That's where we're at. Marvel handed this man the keys to one of the most iconic characters in comic book history. And in return, he's giving fans a 30-minute rant about how we're all brainwashed, bigoted, and part of some failure-celebrating cult if we criticize the movie. It's not even subtle. This isn't coded language. He literally says Marvel fans need to read the comics if they don't understand why his version of Reed is valid. Newsflash, Pedro. We did read the comics. That's why we're confused. But let's zoom.
We read the comics. That's why we didn't like it. We read the comics. We've seen the comics. We've seen the movies. You did not do it justice from someone who's like big into Marvel. He didn't do it justice. Did not do it justice.
This isn't just about Pedro Pascal being Pedro Pascal. This is about Marvel, once the crown jewel of cinematic dominance, continuing its free fall by doubling down on the exact same strategies that already failed. The casting is controversial. The creative decisions are baffling. The script has been reworked more times than a group project in college. And now, the
Script
lead
was
actor is
weird.
antagonizing the fan base before the film even has a release date.
A
Let me break it down.
female Silver
From the
Surfer.
beginning, fans were skeptical. Not only was Pedro a questionable fit for Reed Richards, but the entire direction of the movie raised red flags.
Yeah,
Gender
dude.
swapped characters, Silver Surfer being reimagined, rumors of Shia LaBeouf being attached, then dropped, storylines shifting dramatically away from the comics,
Hmm.
and let's not forget the biggest Marvel sin of all, messing with the legacy of the Fantastic Four. People wanted this reboot to work. That's the
Yeah, we
painful
did.
part. Marvel fans, despite being
Yeah,
burned
we did.
over and over by Phase 4 and 5, were hoping this would be the redemption arc, a return to roots, a movie that respects its characters, respects its fans, and tells a great story without a lecture attached. But nope. Here comes Pedro Pascal telling you that if you're not on board with his version of Mr. Fantastic, you're the problem. And the worst part, he's not just speaking for himself, he's revealing the mindset behind the scenes. According to him, Marvel and specifically Kevin
I don't can real like before I continue this. I do not like the fact that when you don't agree with somebody in today's society, in today's freaking world, when you don't agree with somebody, you are automatically the problem. Oh, you don't agree with what I do? Well, you're the problem. What happened to like knowing that something is just wrong? Like you just know it's wrong. You just know it's not good. What happened to that, bro? What happened to that?
Feige isn't backing down on their ideological messaging. They're still pushing DEI, still injecting gender politics, still crafting stories around agendas rather than characters. They're just doing it quieter now. They're watering it down, not removing it. So let's be clear. Marvel's strategy isn't to change course. It's to camouflage the course. They've learned that if they push the message too hard, fans revolt. So instead, they bury it just deep enough that only the internet detectives can find it. But the
Yeah.
message, still there, still baked into the core of the story. And Pedro's proud of that. He literally says this movie has a focus on gender politics and that fans will be able to decipher the anagram hidden in the narrative.
Gender
Anagram.
politics.
In a superhero movie. What is this? A Marvel movie or an episode of National Treasure? But
Yeah.
wait, it gets better. Pedro also claimed that the backlash to his casting and the movie's direction is largely coming from, quote, one side of the country, blaming an idiotic administration for creating a culture of fear and censorship. So now Marvel criticism is a political issue?
So now it's
Disagreeing
politics.
with the
Now
Fantastic
we're
Four
talking about
reboot makes you a
politics.
pawn in some vast conservative conspiracy? No, Pedro. It makes you a fan who's tired of Hollywood using superhero films as political battlegrounds. You know
Yeah.
what else makes fans tired? Constant gaslighting. Pedro
Yeah.
says his version of Reed is comic accurate, then immediately admits they've shifted away from source material in various ways. What does that even mean? You can't call it faithful and then say, oh, but also we changed everything. It's
Yeah.
insulting, and fans know it. Marvel keeps pulling the same
I
bait
ain't
and
like it,
switch.
bro.
They throw in familiar names and visuals, slap on a few Easter eggs, and expect fans to ignore the fact that the soul of the characters is completely gone. They call it evolution, but really, it's just erosion of legacy, of respect, of everything that made these characters.
Listen. These characters right here, right? They are both playing the same character. Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic. That's who they're playing. Buddy on the right, I do not remember his name. I honestly, when I was younger, I thought that was Antonio Banderas' brother or something like that. Don't ask why. He made Mr. Fantastic for me. He brought the whole thing to life. He brought him to life. Like I could, and he did such a great job. I could never see anyone else doing it. Okay, cool. So we fast forward, and they decide to do it again, and they freaking they cast this dude. They cast Pedro. As soon as I heard it, I did not understand why they were doing that, but I still gave it a chance and went to see it anyway. And the movie itself was trash. Like it was trash, bro. It was trash. It was it was so bad that I was upset that I saw it. I was mad that I saw it. I would have felt better not watching it at all. Not watching it at all. I would have felt better not watching it at all. So yeah.
Iconic. Let's talk about The Thing, one of the most beloved members of the team. We already know he refuses to say his classic catchphrase, "It's clobberin' time," until the very end of the movie, like they're trying to earn it. Like we're supposed to wait 2 hours for a payoff that should have come naturally. This is
Yep.
the problem with modern Marvel. Everything has to be subverted. Everything has to be reimagined. Every character has to go through an ideological filter before they can be allowed on screen. And by the time they make it, they're not even recognizable anymore. You can feel how scared Marvel is. You can see the panic in the marketing, the hesitancy in the interviews, the desperate attempts to get ahead of the backlash by spinning it as progressive criticism. But it's not working because people are waking up.
That's BS,
People are
bro.
tired of being talked down to, tired of being manipulated, tired of being blamed for caring about these characters. And let's not forget, this isn't just a press blunder. Pedro's comments are a liability. Studios invest millions in marketing to get fans excited. Pedro Pascal is doing the opposite, driving fans away. Every time he
I don't know if y'all heard about that, but him coming out and speaking and saying anything, him simply opening his mouth at these conferences, these press conferences, and not speaking about the movie, but talking about all these other things, negatively impacted that movie. 1,000%. Like 1,000%. 1,000% negatively impacted that movie. Let's find out how much it grossed. Let's find out. Let's find out. Let's see. Domestic gross. And so this is what they're telling us, right? They're going to tell us 274 million domestic, 521 million worldwide. I'm 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 having trouble believing it, even though it's there. But who's to say I'm right? I could very well be wrong. I just don't see how this man did anything good for that movie. It just didn't work.
opens his
Didn't
mouth,
work.
he's reminding people that this movie isn't made for them. It's made to make a statement. And that statement is loud and clear. We don't care what you think. Marvel used to care. Back in the days of Iron Man, the Avengers, even Captain America, Winter Soldier, there was a sense of unity, a sense that these stories were for everyone, not
Yeah.
anymore. Now you either agree with the message or you're labeled toxic. And the irony? It just keeps getting louder. Marvel isn't just losing fans, they're losing money. Real money. Box office numbers are
But
crumbling like Thanos.
but that's not what they're saying. They're saying this movie did better than all the other ones. Hmm. This movie did better than all the other Fantastic Fours. Yeah.
Snapped away their last ounce of common sense. Audience scores in free fall, merch sales drying up, the brand, once a cultural juggernaut, now reduced to viral TikToks mocking its decline. And yet, instead of pausing, instead of reflecting, instead of taking even one step back to ask, "Hey, what went wrong?" They double down every single time. No lessons learned, no accountability, no course correction, just more spin, more lectures, more blame shifting. Because in Hollywood today, admitting failure is a bigger crime than driving away your entire fan base. Now picture this, really imagine it. Fantastic Four hits theaters and it flops. Hard. Critics tear it apart, fans stay home, theaters echo with silence. A movie once hyped as Marvel's big return to form ends up DOA. But will Disney own up to it? Of course not. The narrative will never be, maybe we went too far. No, no, no. It'll be something like, the audience just wasn't ready for this bold new direction. Or, online trolls sabotage the film with hate speech. Or, my personal favorite,
This is awful,
bigotry
bro.
is to blame for the box office failure. It's the same
Bigotry is
playbook
to
every
blame.
time. Blame the fans,
You
blame the critics,
serious?
blame the algorithm.
We are the fans. We are the ones that want to see this, bro. We want to see the movie. We want to see the movie. We want to enjoy the movie. We want the movie to be as freaking close to accurate as it can be. That's what we want as fans. And you're basically saying, we know you guys love the Fantastic Four, but we decided to take it in a whole nother direction. Screw what you think. Doesn't matter how you feel. And if you don't like the movie, you're completely against everything we're doing, and you're not a real Marvel fan. That's awful. Absolutely tragic. This is awful.
Blame the country, blame the weather, blame literally anyone except the people who actually made the decisions. And you can already see it happening.
Blame everybody
Pedro
else,
Pascal
basically.
is out here laying the groundwork for the excuses. He's not just doing press interviews, he's pre-spinning the fallout, framing the backlash before it even happens, so that when it does, the narrative is already locked and loaded. It's predictable, it's exhausting, it's so transparent that you can practically see the checklist they're working from. And worst of all, it's killing the MCU not slowly, not quietly, but with every loud, defiant, clueless move they make. Marvel had a choice.
What is the
They still
next
have a
Marvel
choice.
movie
But
coming
time
out?
is
Isn't it
running
supposed
out.
to be
They can keep
Doomsday?
pretending this strategy is working, keep pretending that fans are the problem, that criticism equals hate, that legacy characters need to be reimagined into empty shells for modern checkboxes, or they can wake up, they can listen, they can do what they used to do so well, honor the source material.
I didn't like the scene when they gave birth. It's a kid. I don't think I've ever seen a Marvel movie where they showed a birth scene with that much screen time. Like they might as well should have just showed everything. Honestly, they like I'm watching it with my son, and at the time he's 10, and we're watching it, and he's looking, and he was just like, are they really going to show this? And I'm like, yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. This is what you're growing up with. This is how they're moving. This is what they're doing. And you got to be prepared to see these things and have a better understanding than what they're trying to convey.
Trust the fans and tell great stories without burying them in identity politics and corporate messaging. But let's be
Identity.
brutally honest here. It's not just Pedro Pascal
What the
dragging
hell
this
is
film down.
identity
It's the
politics?
culture
Is
that
that what
created him.
everything is ran
A
off
culture
now?
of
Identity
arrogance, of
politics?
defensiveness, of corporate cowardice
I
dressed up as
hate
moral
it with
courage.
a
A
passion. I
culture
hate
where
it.
listening to fans is seen as weakness. A culture where pushing an agenda is more important than telling a good story. And that, right there, is the tragedy of modern Hollywood. Because here's the truth, and I say this as someone who loves movies, who grew up watching these characters, who
Yes.
wants Marvel to succeed again. People
Yes.
don't want lectures. They want legends. They don't want
Yes.
finger wagging. They want fist pumping. They don't want
Yes.
politics and spandex. They want heroes. They want to sit in a dark theater, lose themselves
What
in another
happened to
world, and
heroes,
walk out
bro?
feeling inspired, not indoctrinated. They want to cheer, to feel something, to connect with characters that transcend politics, not become slaves to it. But instead, what do we get?
And yo, the whole thing about that movie was freaking. They
Actors who
wanted
treat press tours
they
like
wanted him to
activist
give up the
rallies,
kid.
studios more focused on Twitter trends than timeless storytelling, scripts so busy checking boxes they forget how to make us care. And meanwhile, the same executives sit
It
in their
was
glass
trash.
towers, watching their empire crumble, insisting that it's all part of the plan. Spoiler alert, it's not. It's a slow motion collapse, and fans can see it coming from a mile away. Pedro Pascal
I
can scream from the
wish I
rooftops, he
wish
can
someone
grandstand,
watching this
deflect,
right
and
now
insult the very
has
people who
something to
used to cheer
say
for him.
about this.
But when the
Like,
opening weekend
where are
numbers
you at
drop,
with
when the
this,
critic
chat? Where are
scores
you at
tank,
with
when
this,
the
bro?
general
'Cause
audience shrugs and moves
did
on,
you see
he'll be
this?
forced to confront the reality that's been staring him in the face the whole time.
Did you see
Maybe,
this?
just maybe, it wasn't the trolls, it wasn't the cult, it wasn't the haters. Maybe the fans were right all along, and if Marvel still has any self-respect left, they'll take that moment, that crash, as a wake-up call. Because they're not just losing money anymore. They're losing trust. They're losing
Yeah.
loyalty. They're losing a generation of fans who once believed they could do no wrong. So now, the ball's in their court. Will they blame us again? Or will they finally admit the truth? But hey, that's just my take. What do you think? Is Pedro Pascal already dragging Fantastic Four off a cliff before the trailer even drops? Is Marvel too far gone to recover? Or are we
So
just
this is
watching the
old.
final
This is
act
an
in the
old
slow,
video,
painful death of
apparently.
a franchise that used to mean something? Let me know down below. I want to hear everything. Drop a comment, hit that thumbs up.
So that video right there, I just recently rewatched Fantastic Four. And when they went to Galactus and he said, I want your baby, right? They said no, of course. They said no, right? They said, no, I'm not giving you my kid. And then they get back to Earth and why? I was confused on the part that they felt like it was necessary to even tell the news that they said the world's the world basically was hanging by a thread, and the only way to save the planet is to give up our kid. And of course, we said no. bro. What the hell? Galactus wanting the kid kind of threw me off. They made Wonder Woman. No, that's not Wonder Woman. I can't remember her name. They made Sue basically like the strongest person in there. She took down Galactus all by herself. Hearing the cries of her baby, she became exceedingly strong and just overwhelmed him. It was trash. The movie was trash, bro. The movie was trash. The movie was trash, bro. It was so much trash. I hope they don't make another one. The movie was trash. And it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch. There was so much underlining topics of discussion. So many, so many. And it's just ruining Marvel. I am upset. I am visibly upset because I care about Marvel ever since I was a kid. Comic book kid. Superheroes. My middle name, I'm literally named after Superman's dad. It's my middle name. So I have a fondness for superheroes. And yeah, it's not like I got to meet Spider Man and shake his hand because superheroes are real. No, they're not real in that sense. But to have a belief that there is no greater deed than being the best version of yourself and helping people when you can and being someone that people love to see, all of those things come from superheroes, from reading superhero comic books and having superheroes posted on your wall and all. They exemplify the greatest parts of humanity, and then they can fly or they can walk through walls or they're super fast. Like, they exemplify these things and then they have such an extraordinary power, and it's like, I want to be like that. Now I might not be able to fly, but everything else they're doing, I could do that too. I can be helpful. I can be a overall good citizen. I can just be a good person, and everything will go almost the way it needs to. I learned a lot from superhero movies, and it's not a it's not one of those inflated beliefs. It's not one of those inflated beliefs, right? Where you just freaking all of a sudden you feel like, well, I feel like Batman. I feel like going to do some vigilante work tonight. Nah, it's not like that. But us, and I say men, a lot of guys, especially my age, if you did not see your father as the greatest person ever, or uncle as the greatest man ever, or even grandfathers, right? If there was no male that you had eyes set on to get all these examples of how to be a man, who did you turn to, bro? Who did you turn to? Who was the ideal superhero for you to mimic yourself after? Because we all did it. And if it wasn't a superhero, right? Like flying superpowers, if it wasn't a superhero, it may have been a wrestler, right? It may have been, who else would it have been? We had artists like I wasn't cheering for rappers and artists like that, but people who made impacts. Michael Jackson. Oddly enough, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan as a kid. Huge, huge. Like, I remember playing Man in the Mirror, the freaking the track, the record. I remember playing Man in the Mirror and like dancing in the mirror and singing and all of that because like you just wanted to be as great as they are. They made you feel great. You wanted to be great, and it's just we don't have that anymore, bro. We don't have that anymore. And Marvel keeps making movies like this and putting out things like this. It's never going to come back. Never. Never going to come back. DC has always been the badassery of superheroes. Now they call them anti-heroes or whatever, but it was basically, yeah, I'm a superhero, but don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not a pushover. I'm not a super sweetheart. They don't have that anymore. They don't have that anymore. And it's sad to say, bro. Sad to say it. Sad to see it, but it's sad to say it. Oh man.
Perfect.